All right, I've lost track of how many episodes I'm on ZOEY, but we have lubricated the wheels. We put the correct spark plug in. She had a bent crankshaft, so I straightened that. And because it had bent crankshaft, I'm suspicious that the flywheel key may be sheared, because to bend a crankshaft, you got to hit something pretty hard. They may have already replaced the flywheel key, but didn't know how to straighten the crankshaft and just gave up on the mower because it vibrated so bad. I often get them like that are vibrating so bad you can't use them. Most of them I can straighten. As you guys know, if you follow me, I've done A through Z on these mowers, and the only one I couldn't save, from Alice to Betty to Diane to Wendy to on up to now on ZOEY, the only one I couldn't get going was L. I'm trying to remember what I named her, but I can't remember. And she had a bent crankshaft, and that thing was bent so bad that it was hopeless. I don't usually see them bent that bad, and a lot of them I can straighten out with the way I did it in the last video. And so now you know how to do it. You get your magnet on a stick and rotate it around with the spark plug out. Find the high side on that crankshaft. Get you one of those round adapters that you can hit with a hammer, and use it over and over again, and you'd be amazed how well it works. So now we're going to check the flywheel key on this mower just to make sure it's not sheared, because sometimes when you straighten the crankshafts you can shear the flywheel key because you're hitting it so hard. So let's take a look under here. I've got to get my electric drill out and a 5/16 socket, and we're going to take a look. Just get these started first. I got it on low torque. There's one. Okay, grab that one. Two. I'm gonna have to use my handy magnet on the stick again to get that there. All right, so I got all three of them out. Get the flywheel cover off. Well, that looks super clean. The self-priming system, the spring seems to be working on that thermostat, so that's good. Take the kill switch. That looks excellent. A lot of gunk built up there. I'm going to clean that off. I don't like all that stuff around the switch, blocking that connection. Yeah, there's a lot of debris in there. Okay, so now that'll work a lot sharper, a lot better, and cleaner shut off. All right, the engine brake is on, so let me get my ear protectors because this impact wrench is loud. You got to get this nut off to check the flywheel key. If it's off, it's not off by much. But let me spin it around this way. But it is off, so I'm gonna have to take the flywheel key off. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna have to take the flywheel off. And that's because somebody's hit it hard enough where they haven't sheared the flywheel key. Well, they've certainly put a good dent in it, and it's no longer firing at top dead center. See that edge, my knife point edge, that should be over there up against that edge. So this, the center of that groove should be right over the center of that flywheel key, and you can see it's not. So I'm gonna have to take that flywheel key out and the flywheel off. I think you can see that pretty clear now. It's not in the perfect location where the spark would be arriving at the correct time. So let's get this flywheel off. They've had a hard enough hit to affect it. So let me go around with this little pocket knife here. Get some of the crud away. I'm gonna squirt some JB Blaster down in there. Let this JB Blaster be soaking in there while I'm getting this thing prepped to get the big hammer out again. So get my gloves on. I've already got my hearing protection on from the impact wrench. You would need it for this too. So you got the nut that you just took off, and then you leave this off. And we're just putting this nut on here to protect the threads when I come down with the big hammer. So get that about 4 or 5 below, and then I get a copper slug. We find one. There's a couple. 1, 2. These are acceptable. See those little copper slugs? I'm going to stack one there, and one there. Now I got to get the big hammer and a lever. With this type of mower, there's not an easy place to come in and get your lever under the flywheel. So what I typically do with these is I go ahead and take the flywheel key off so I can put it in under there. And since it's a self-priming, I've also got that carburetor linkage I need to be aware of. Get this off of here. I've got to swing this coil out of the way. I'll go ahead and take the spark plug off. Should have done that before. Worm that thing around there. Now, get this. Right now it's sticking to the magnet. Okay, it's coming off now. Shoot. Okay, there we go. The magnet's not grabbing it anymore. And I'm going to go ahead and put these screws back where they belong. It's just one way to keep up with them. All right. Now, I'm hoping I've got enough clearance to get my screwdriver under here without having to mess with that, with this carburetor linkage. Yep, that should be okay. So now I can put a lever on there using the engine head as a fulcrum. And now I'm going to hit the top of this crankshaft, this hammer, while pushing down on the lever. Okay, it's still not loose. So now I'm going to spin it around a little bit this way. The engine brake is on, so it might make it easier on myself if I clamp that down. There is no gas in this mower. That'll be easier to turn now. Get this impact wrench out of the way. I come in there. I'm going to go like that. Push it down on the lever. Come loose. No, it's still not loose. So I'm going to spin the flywheel a little bit. So I come at it from a different side. Flip the screwdriver into there, push down on the lever. Still hasn't come loose yet. It sometimes takes several pops to get this thing to come loose. This is a tough one. More spin around. Put the copper slugs back, protecting that crankshaft, protecting those threads. Still not loose. May have to get me a fresh old penny pre-80s. Torn these old things up pretty good, so all right, here we go. Go ahead and spin it around a little bit. There we are. Okay, that did it. So now I got the flywheel loose. Just set that penny over there. The threads are okay. Get that out of there. Run my little knife or screwdriver or something down in there to get the old gunk and that shaft out of there. Let me look at this flywheel key, because if it's not too damaged, I can flip it over and use it again. Yeah, I think that's okay. So now I carefully put this back in and make sure that it is exactly where it needs to be. Let me show you that. I've got to take my gloves off to do that. This flywheel key is not sheared, so it's okay. So I've got that exactly squared up the way it needs to be. And I'm going to reinstall this flywheel because it's only got a rough edge on it. You can kind of tell by looking at it where the thin part was up top last time. So I'm going to put that on the bottom and see if it just slides right in there. It may not, and if it doesn't, then I'll go get me a new flywheel key. But this thing's just been bumped. It was just hit hard and bumped off center. Okay, so let me try again here. All right, I've got that thing pretty squared up. There we go. Let's try to nudge it over. All right, now that's the thin part, so I want the fat part on the top, I think. Yeah. See if I can get this thing in there. That's sort of in position. Let me wiggle, 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 wiggle. All right, let me see if I can push on it with something. There we go. Now you see how that thing is centered up in that opening. And it's gonna be fine using that flywheel key. If it wasn't damaged, it was just severely bumped out of position, just the tiniest little mark on the side. I'm trying not to obsess about these things too much, but that's dead center now. So let's get the starter cut back on while it's off, so we can get the debris out of there. And line this little dog here, there, in the groove made for that. So it grabs that. And now we'll reinstall our nut. Okay. Now I'm going to take the engine brake off because that's going to give me the resistance to have this thing be tight. That engine brake will help do that. Get the impact wrench again. So, there we go. Because that engine brake was on, that flywheel didn't spin a lot. So now we get to reinstall our coil, but let's take a break now. I don't want to run them too long. So that's, I got our flywheel key corrected.